We don't talk much on Sky News about cops and robbers and crime. You know, this is generally a political channel, but I like to think that from time to time we should talk about things that probably matter a little bit more than politics, including just your personal safety. Now, you know and I know that it doesn't matter how many times police or politicians want to tell us crime stats are down, crime stats are stable, because every single day you read and hear about a crime story that makes you understand that it's not. Perfect example. Last night at the Royal Easter Show in Sydney, there was a huge brawl. There was a brawl that happened not too far from Sideshow Alley, and it involved 20 different people. Police found, among other things, a knife at the scene where the brawl took place. Here's what I can show you on TV. This thing frightened the people who were not involved in it. The people who, in the middle of a school holidays, decided to take their family to the Royal Easter Show. Here in part is the video that I can show you of their reaction to what was happening in Sideshow Alley. Now, increasingly, violence is treated as funny on the internet. It's something to giggle about on TikTok, while you wake up the next morning and go, whew, look what happened yesterday at the Easter Show. But for the people who were in that crowd, not a pleasant experience. And there are too many people who end up being the victims of crime. There are too many people who, and I would note for an absolute fact, that if my kids were in Sideshow Alley at that time, they would be frightened to go back to a place like Sideshow Alley if they saw the violence that they saw and then everyone stampeding, pushing and shoving and running away. And that's not because they're little sooks, it's because they're little people. Amazingly, not a single person has been arrested, despite the fact that when you go to the Easter Show in Sydney in 2021, you have to buy a ticket online. They know who these people are. Camera footage might exist, but this is also a place where literally dozens of police officers were there, but not a single person was arrested. Is this because, in part, we seem to have an attitude to crime as it's taking place, that we won't step in and stop it because we'll just let the camera record it and then we'll go back and double check the tape the next day. The tape will do the job for us. But if you are a victim of crime, if you have been traumatised by crime, it's a life-changing event. Perfect example. We get told by the crime statisticians, there you go, and the politicians in New South Wales that assault is stable. Well, this is how many people got assaulted in New South Wales just last year. 29,000 people were the victims of an assault. Think about this if it had happened to you. If somebody had king hit you, punched you, you would forever. That would change your life. What does society say? Just stable, nothing to see here. And that, by the way, is the assaults that don't include the domestic violence numbers and all the rest of it. So let's just think about good old-fashioned punch-ups. 29,500 in a year. But we have a culture that either giggles at violence or pulls out a camera when it is happening and films it, rather than either tries to stop it or pull people away from what's happening because of, I don't know, some sort of disassociation that's going on here. And you want to talk about another version of assault. Perhaps a reason police don't get involved in these sorts of mass brawls is because somebody will punch them. These are the latest crime statistics about the number of police in New South Wales who were assaulted last year. 7 officers every single day of every single week of every single month. Public holidays, Tuesdays, pissy Fridays. 2,500 police officers have been assaulted. Now, you know and I know that largely, when it comes to youth crime, if there's an arrest at all, it'll result in a slap on the wrist, a whole world of cautions, and everyone continues on their way. Or they just don't deal with it at all, and certainly deal with it in a way that the local constituents deserve it to be treated, like in North Queensland. where, according to the police data there, crime stats are up, way up, in places like Townsville, where stealing from a vehicle is up 35%, assaults are up 10%, and sexual offences are up 11%. And even if there are moments like those stats that I showed you about youth crime in North Queensland, and it forces governments to finally do something, like they announced in Queensland, GPS trackers for the worst offenders in and around places like Townsville. Well, guess what's happened? The devil is in the detail. According to a question on notice that was put by the opposition to the government in Queensland's Parliament last week, just half of all of the people who would qualify to have the bracelet put on them because they have committed multiple violent crimes in Townsville, they won't be wearing the GPS trackers. So does crime matter? To you and I, it does. If you're the victim of an assault, it matters. If you own the business that got smashed up, it does. To our media, perhaps. To most people, it's entertainment when they wake up on their mobile phone in between Kardashian videos. I don't know. But when a football stadium of people being assaulted in one state in every year is stable, and 7 cops are being assaulted every single day, and meh, who cares? We have drifted a very long way as a society.